What's going on, guys, and welcome to the very first episode of my Football Manager 2023 series. Yes, the wait is finally over, and after a 2-year absence of FM videos on my channel, Football Manager returns today, and I cannot wait to get back to playing this fantastic game. So if you're a new viewer to the channel, firstly, hi, welcome. My name is Docs, and I've been making videos for YouTube for well over a decade now, and Football Manager content for several years as well. I first began playing this game almost 2 decades ago. My first ever copy of the FM and CM franchise was Championship Manager 4 way back in the early 2000s. And despite having played for such a long time, admittedly, I'm still not very good at the game. But as a massive football fan who has played the sport since 6 years old and now, admittedly, at 30 years old, I absolutely love football and Football Manager as well. So you can be sure that you're about to embark on a say with a tactically inept at times, yet passionate football fan. I upload every single day and normally twice as well, so if I sound like your kind of guy, please do hit that subscribe button, join my backroom staff on our journey, and we'll try and take Bournemouth to new heights together, because starting off this save for FM23, I'm really excited to be using Bournemouth for the first time. Now, I've never used Bournemouth before, that goes for FIFA Career Mode and Football Manager as well, but again, if you're a new viewer to the channel, then basically in my FM saves, over the past several years, I tend to join teams that are either newly promoted to the Premier League or teams that are, you know, not quite as established as others in the top tier of English football. I always begin with no coaching qualifications whatsoever, so as I develop, the team develops at the same time as well, which I really like that. We sort of develop together, and again, I always choose the team which is going to be very difficult to begin with in the very first season, and our job is not to take over a Manchester City or a Bayern Munich where success is expected right from the very first season. It's about building for the future. I tend to do RTGs, and Bournemouth to me seem like the ideal fit. They're a newly promoted side to the Premier League, of course, back in the top tier this year. Scott Parker, of course, got them promoted last year, runners-up in the Championship, but of course was sacked very early on into the season on the back of a joint record defeat in Premier League history. Their 9-0 loss to Anfield. Scott Parker kind of threw his team under the bus a little bit by saying that they weren't good enough for the Premier League. He was basically asking for a payout at that point. He got it, he was sacked. Gary O'Neill took over, and to be fair, has done a pretty decent job, all things considered, because Bournemouth, as I run you through their team here, were considered at the very start of the season the worst team in the Premier League in terms of ability, and the media and most pundits, and I'll be honest here, myself as well, expected them to get relegated, but Gary O'Neill went on a superb run with the Cherries after taking over. After the hype kind of died down a little bit and their honeymoon period ended, they then started to struggle quite a lot, but as things stand, they still have a great chance keeping themselves up, and on the back of that 9-0 loss to Liverpool so early on at the start of the season, I mean, not many people would have predicted they'd still have a great chance of staying in the Premier League, but as things stand, that is the case. Despite that being the case, though, again, it is still a really weak side. You would have seen the media prediction here. It is 20th place. Most pundits, most media would suggest we will be getting relegated. And as I run you through the squad here, the fact of the matter is, it's not that great. There is some quality. I'm a big fan of Dominic Solanke leading their line. They brought in Nato on a 1-year deal from Barcelona, their highest earner on 100 grand a week, their shot stopper. And they got a couple of decent young talents as well. Check out this guy, Ilya Zabarny. He is the former Dynamo Kiev centre-half that I believe was signed in January this year. Ukrainian centre-back who definitely is one to look out for. So there are a couple of decent young players in the team. But for the most part, it is a team which, let's be honest, it wouldn't look out of place in the Championship. So it's not absolutely disastrous. I'm going to hope we will avoid Derby County's infamous records of lowest amount of points in the Premier League season ever, but staying up would definitely be a major, major achievement. And that's why in the very first season, that is all it is for me with Bournemouth. All we're going to try and do is keep them in the Premier League. You would have seen the board expectations for the first season. They are as low as they possibly can be. In the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, it is just be competitive, which means whatever happens, happens. Just don't embarrass yourself, basically. And in the Premier League, the expectation is to attempt to avoid relegation. It's not even avoid relegation, it's just attempt to avoid relegation, meaning even if we go down, I could still potentially keep my job as long as we don't embarrass ourselves and, again, have a record akin to Derby's all those years ago. Now, Bournemouth have spent a lot of money in the summer. They spent around £69 million on bringing in new players. They brought in a lot of new players for this season to try and keep them in the Premier League. And NATO is their highest earner on £100,000 a week as well. And for a club with a stadium which they don't even own, it's the smallest in Premier League at 11,464 seats as well, with very little in the way of sponsorship money coming in and commercial revenue as well. It's not really a team with an abundance of wealth, and in the first season we only have just under £1 million to work with in terms of transfers, so don't expect us to be signing a ton of wonder kids and, you know, some star players to potentially keep us in the Premier League single-handedly. That's probably not going to happen in season 1 because we don't have the money to work with whatsoever. So the team is most likely going to stay around the same. I'll try and move a couple of things around, a couple of sales, perhaps a couple of signings as well. But for the most part, the team that Bournemouth have in real life is the team that we'll have in this season as well. There won't be much change due to the financial constraints we currently have. But as I run you through the team here, as I run you through the team just there, you'll see in terms of staff as well, Bournemouth staff isn't the best either, and staff to me is really, really important in Football Manager. It's one of the things that I really do prioritise. As someone who isn't great at the tactics, I do like to think I'm pretty decent at building a good coaching staff with whatever team I'm managing, and in every single save I do, for those that have been on the channel for a while, they'll be able to tell the new viewers this, I always have a right-hand man, an assistant manager who's a bit of an icon in football and is well known, a worldwide football name. And every single year I have a different name. Sometimes it's, you know, Frank Lampard or Henrik Larsson, a couple of players I've had as assistant managers before. But this year I've opted for Kolo Touré. Kolo Touré is exactly the sort of player I want as my right-hand man. Now, of course, he had a very brief stint with Wigan Athletic earlier this year, but was sacked in like a month. Very, very harsh on the Ivorian. But Kolo Touré, a lot of people forget this, but Kolo Touré is part of the invincible season with Arsenal almost 2 decades ago now. He won, I think, 3 Premier Leagues with Arsenal and Manchester City. He played for Liverpool and Celtic as well. And Kolo Touré is the man I want as my right-hand man for this save. So every single save I have an assistant manager, a well-known name in world football. There's, again, been Lampard, Henrik Larsson, Dennis Bergkamp once, and, of course, Super Neil Harris as well. But in this save, it will be Kolo Touré. So I've made one sale as well. You would have seen there, Junior Stanislas has gone to Bristol City for £1.3 million. The Bournemouth squad isn't the thickest, but I do want to try and sell a couple of players who won't play very much and don't really have much in the way of potential either. So Stanislas has gone. We sold him to Bristol City for £1.3 million. Probably the biggest signing so far, though, is that Jefferson Lerma has signed a new contract. I would say that Lerma is one of our very best players here. He has my favourite personality in the game, which is perfectionist, because I can definitely relate to that. And Lerma will be staying with us for another few years, so buzzing about that. And also, as well, Jack Stacey, I'm going to sell him to Aston Villa as well. Stacey is out of contract come the end of the season. Whilst he does have an optional extension of a year, we've got Ryan Fredericks, who's just came in. Adam Smith, the vice-captain, is here as well. Stacey would probably be second choice right back in this team, but whilst I love his natural fitness and his stamina as well, in the final year of his contract, I just decided to cash in. We need the money. We needed to raise a little bit of cash because I wanted to sign at least one player, and on the back of selling Jack Stacey and Junior Stanislas, and also lowering our bonuses down to the lowest we could possibly offer for league and cup competitions, I did decide to go after my only transfer target in this summer transfer window. Now, if you played Football Manager this year, you'll know all about this kid. If you've played FIFA Career Mode, you'll know all about this kid. And if you're a Championship watcher as well, yeah, you'll know all about this kid. One of the brightest prospects in English football, currently playing for Bristol City. His name is Alex Scott. It is not the lovely pundit who is very, very knowledgeable about the game and gets a lot more stick than she deserves. Fantastic pundit and a great media personality. It is the Bristol City teenage midfielder, Alex Scott. He is 18 years old. He has got some fantastic potential and he's currently playing at Ashton Gate for Bristol City. I needed to bring this guy in. I needed to make sure we had at least someone in this team that we can kind of build our team around, because Dominic Solanke is good. NATO's only here on a 1-year deal. The Ukrainian centre-half, we've got Zabarnyi, could be really good, but question marks over where we'll develop to a great player in the future. But one player that certainly has all the assets to grow and become a fabulous player in world football, not just English football, is this guy, Alex Scott. So we signed him for, with instalments, could be potentially 16.5 million. It's an awful lot of money, but the initial fee is 7.5 mil, so we had enough to bring him in. It's a 33 grand a week, 5-year contract. There are 2 release clauses. There's a relegation release clause, I believe, of 36 million pounds, and a minimum fee release clause to clubs in the Champions League of 60 million pounds. But the best thing about that is that whilst we will probably lose him at some point, we'll know that we'll make a profit on the guy. No doubt about that. So potentially, if we lose him after 1 season, we only would have spent 7.5 million pounds, because the other 2 clauses, 20 international games, I think 2.5 mil, I think it is, and the other is play 50 league games. There's only 38 league games in a season, so yeah, we know for sure that we'll make a big profit on this guy. If we keep hold of him, fantastic. We'll develop him into a player that we'll probably build the team around. If not, then we can send him on for a big profit. That's a win-win either way for Bournemouth there, so I'm buzzing with that signing. But the last thing you'll do is, I'll see, is I did change my vice captain this year. I've taken it off Adam Smith, who is our right back out of contract in 2 years' time, and given it to Lewis Cook. And that is that. That's the first part of today's episode over, guys. So a big thank you for watching. We're now going to move on to the live part of today's episode, where we'll play the very first game of the season, which is away against Wolves in a potential relegation 6-pointer, even on match day 1 at Molineux. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the live part of today's episode. Okay guys, so welcome to the live part of today's episode. From here on out, every part of this series will be live, and our first game is away at Molineux against Wolverhampton Wanderers, so already a tough game to start off with here in the Premier League. So heading into the game, we're a Sunday afternoon kickoff. Just briefly here, if you have any suggestions for me on tactics whatsoever, then feel free to drop them in the comments. In fact, if you could leave me some tactical suggestions today, please put them in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. The tactical side of the game is the weakest aspect of mine. I'm not very good at tactics whatsoever. I do tend to learn and get a little bit better as the save goes on. But if you have any tactical suggestions whatsoever, then please do drop them in the comment section down below. I do use presets because, again, I'm not very good at the game, so any help I can get is always much appreciated. And I found that playing defensively in Football Manager just never seems to work. But gegenpress has always been, I say always, over the past few years, been the most common way to play. So we'll be starting with a 4-3-3 gegenpress with this Bournemouth team. But again, if you have any suggestions whatsoever, please drop them in the comments, because we'll do a lot of experimenting this year, trying to find out our best team and our best system as well. So for the game, we've got a few injuries to start the season off. Vigna is currently down, as is Rothwell. Traore, who's of course on loan for a while, and Semenyo's down too. And as we know, David Brooks, we won't be able to use him for the first couple of months, but this will be our team. So it's 4-3-3. We've got NATO in goal, back for Zamura, Senesi, Zabarnyi, and Fredericks. The midfield trios, Cook, Lerma, and Alex Scott, who I'll play as an advanced playmaker to begin with. We're going to try and build the team around this guy, and this guy will be playing all of our games in the first season to maximise his potential. I don't know where he will be best at. He could definitely play deeper or further forward, but to me, I think through the heart, with the freedom to go and attack and be an advanced playmaker as well, get the best out of him personally. We'll have to find out where he's best suited to as the season goes on. The inside forwards are Christie on the left, Marcus Tavernier on the right, and Solanke is our pressing forward leading the line. On the bench, you've got Travers, Metham, Stevens, Kelly, Smith, Billing, Jaden Anthony, Owatara, and Kiefer Moore as well. So first game, it's Wolves away. I'm not expecting much, and I'll definitely take a point. Come on, you Cherries. Ooh, forgot about that. One thing to know about me as well is that I play 2D. This is something I've always done and something I always will. I do the replays on 3D, but the actual game itself, the live game, I play on 2D. Always have, always will, and that definitely will never change for me. So yes, for those old school viewers out there, yes, I'm still a 2D player, 2D till death, and it'll always be that way. So first highlight, 11 minutes in, and Tavernier's through here. Oh, terrible finish, straight at Jose Sarr. And our best and possible best chance of the whole game has gone begging. That should have been a much better attempt. Started off alright though so far. I want to check on the body language of the team as well. This is really important to me as well. A couple of players are nervous, but everyone else is calm and composed, which is good to see. Again, if you're new viewers to the channel, then the mentality, as Matthias Cunha heads Wolves in front, is really important to me. The mentality of the players, the body language, the mental attributes are the most important attributes to me. And is Cunha offside there? No, the goal has been awarded through VAR. So half an hour in, and we're a goal down. Pablo Sarabia crosses, Cunha heads in, and Wolves take the lead. 6 minutes to go before the break. If we're getting at 1-0, then that's alright. We've already had a really good chance. If we go 2-0 down and can see 2 quick goals before the break, that's going to be really hard to come back from. And right on cue, that is what happens. Ait Nouri, the left back, chips it in, and Pedro Neto converts from close range. Yep, as I expected, opening day, probably going to be a loss, and it seems unless we can stage a great fight back, that will be the case there. Ball into the middle, Neto beats Abani and drills it past Neto. 2-0. So remember when I said if you got any tactical suggestions, that would be great. Yes, please, guys. Any tactical suggestions whatsoever, please do drop them in the comment section down below, because this is the weakest part of the game for me. So I'm going to say to the boys, I know we can rescue a draw from this match. It'll be an incredible result we did. Just keep going out there. One player switched off, one player's lost focus, so that's not a great dressing room team talk there. But half the game to go. There's still a chance we can get something from this game. Neves to Matheus Nunes. Good tackle by Jefferson Lerman. Loses it straight away, and Sarabia, who set up the first goal, whips one to the back stick, nodded down to Pedro Neto, and now João Moutinho, what a ball, and Neto with a great save to keep it at 2-0. This has been a tough one here. Body language is not great. I'm going to shout to the boys and try and fire them up, but I don't think it's going to do too much here. Half an hour to go, still down by 2. And as things stand, if it's going to be a third goal, you put your money on Wolves here. As Neto down the left-hand side rolls it back. Scott can't make the dispossession, and the shot hits the crossbar and goes over. As things stand, I'd take a 2-0 loss here, because Wolves at the moment looks like they could score with every single attack. We are really struggling to stop them, but Jefferson Lerma does just that. As Christie sends it long, Solanke's onto that and fires it over the bar. To be fair, we had 2 great chances today, just haven't taken them. Disappointing, really, because admittedly, with the chances Wolves have had, they've been a much better team out there. But we've had 2 really good opportunities, but the finishing just hasn't been there. And that's frustrating as well, as the ball hits the woodwork for the second time, as Wolves going to be home and dry by now. It's 22 minutes to go. We've had a couple of great opportunities, and the finishing was better. We would possibly have a chance to take something from this game. And that's frustrating, because there's nothing you can do about that, as Sarabia is through and Neto makes the save. How are we still breathing out there? 9 minutes to go. Bournemouth have won a corner, and Jaden Anthony is going to take it off the bench, floats onto the far post, and Essie heads it off the woodwork. And to be fair, there have been some positives today. There have been some positives. We hit the woodwork, we missed a couple of other great chances, but it is going to be a loss on the opening day, and Wolves will win by 2-0. They were the better team. They deserved over 90 minutes, but there were a couple of positives. We should have scored at least 1 in that game there, but unfortunately, disappointed. I'll say they did themselves proud, though. That's all I asked for, and everyone switched off and lost focus. That's fantastic. So, not a great start to life at the Vitality, but as we expected, it was going to be a tough beginning there away against Wolves, with a 2-0 loss with our Bournemouth team. And, well, we know just staying in the Premier League is going to be a heck of a challenge for us this season, especially with that board expectation and media prediction. But there's a long way to go. It's only match day 1. Keep your heads up, boys. Plenty of the season remaining. But that will end today's episode of the Football Manager series, guys. So big thank you for watching. Really hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day. Please do give me some help with the tactics in the comment section down below. This season will be all about experimentation. So any tactical suggestions, please do leave them in the comments. And we'll return with 2 games right after deadline days. We'll see if we make any transfers, and then we'll come back with the Saints at home and Fulham away. What could be 2 early relegation 6-pointers there. Have a great day. Much love, and I'll see you for the next episode of the Football Manager series very soon.